All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat over this website review. I'm excited to kind of dive into this and give you some tips and such. I've already taken a look at your website, so I have some notes here
Okay.
that I want to walk through, but I always like to leave like a little bit of time at the end as well, just in case you have anything that pops up or any additional questions as we kind of go through and stuff like that. So I know that your first focus was the layout of this page as well as the speaker page. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today, as well as the sales page. So I noticed that the site is built on Wix. Is that correct?
Yeah. How can you tell?
Well, I have a this little fun little gadget here. It's not 100% correct all the time, but it's I would say about 90% accurate.
Okay.
It's a Google Chrome plugin. Um, but I know this is kind of a big thing, but I generally do not recommend Wix to clients. And the reason for that is because when we scale the page down, Wix has problems with
Mhm.
responsive design and website design.
Okay.
So you can see like if somebody was viewing this page perhaps at like a kind of like a half width, maybe like a tablet size, it could pose issues for, people being able to view your content. So that's, I know, like a big kind of like bomb drop, but I know that, you know, it's just something to think about as you're moving forward. Should you ever want to like move to a different platform, this site is most likely, so there's two versions of Wix also. There's the classic Wix, and then there's also the newer version, which is Wix Studio.
Okay.
And so Wix Studio has been like a little bit better when it comes to responsive design and making sure that it's accommodating for different screen sizes. I have built a site on there before. However, I still would recommend other platforms over Wix just because it's still, how do I put this? It's being developed still. Like that new platform is still kind of, it's still in the beginning phases.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that might be something to think about. Um, and I also wanted to ask you about, I don't know if it's maybe getting cut off, but I'm kind of craving some kind of like logo or branding in the top.
Uh,
Um,
no, there's nothing up there, just the menu.
okay, cool. I think at least like having your name and possibly, um, you know how like Georgia was talking about today, maybe like a few keywords as to like what it is you offer. So like, um, I forget the terms that you were going with, and I know you were going back and forth with Abriana, um, self-empowerment coach or something to that effect, where it's like it just gives like the brief kind of three-word, some summary of like what it is that you're offering could be helpful there. Just so that when people land on this page, they are kind of like reassured as to like, we're in the right place. I'm kind of looking for, X, Y, or Z.
Okay.
All right. And so let's move on to the navigation here. Once you get that logo or the name added to the top, you can remove the home button. Just because if you look at like, larger websites, generally speaking, we link the logo or the top navigation or like the branding component to go home. So
Mm.
that would be something to swap out there. That'll also give you like a lot more room here should you want to like add other pages down the line. It will give you just more of that like horizontal space to kind of play with as your business expands and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about the hero because I know that that was a focus point for you. Um, I think for this text, these two larger pieces of text, it might be good to rework just a little bit to number one, include some more keywords and really call out to that core person that you are trying to reach. So I know that you talked about it's kind of that higher level corporate woman, right? Um, So maybe creating some verbiage around like how to speak to that person directly, like if she has a title or if there's like a term that she would connect with. Maybe including some of that verbiage here so that when you land on this is like the largest text on the page or when you first land here, right? So we really want it to be ultra clear that we're speaking to that person.
Okay.
And then also maybe including a few keywords as to what it is that you're offering in this
Okay.
in this bolded text. So, maybe it's self-leadership coaching for driven
Mhm.
entrepreneur women or women in corporate or, however you want to describe that woman,
Okay.
something to that effect. And I
Okay.
think that the other thing that I wanted to mention when it comes to this hero area is adding a button before you start scrolling. So maybe that is something like contact me or whatever the verbiage is that you like to use, like in order to call people to action. But generally, I do like to recommend that it is present before you start scrolling, both on desktop and on mobile.
Okay, so adding a button like to schedule a call with me or to like go to a different page.
Whatever is your most important call to action. So this
Okay.
is this is like your prime real estate. Like this is like if you want people to see nothing else on your website, where do you want them to go?
Okay. I guess scheduling a call is it.
So yeah, even if you had like a button here that said like schedule a free consultation, schedule a free call, however you are calling out to it throughout your website,
Okay.
um, that would be great to add right there.
Okay.
And I think ultimately just thinking about you kind of get into this in the smaller text, but
Hmm.
maybe when we're thinking about this larger text, also considering what is that self-leadership coaching ultimately going to mean for them, right? Like we're getting into like the confidence, um, but what is like the ultimate result for them? Maybe seeing if there's a way that you can kind of like weave that into that top text as well, just because that's going to be like really eye-catching for them.
Okay.
Any questions on the hero? I think otherwise, like I love the image. I think this is like a beautiful brand image. I love all of your brand images that have been coming out. And I love the little bit of movement in the background too.
Cool. Thank you. Hold on real quick. Sorry, I've got both the kiddos home and Hobby's gone. What's
No worries.
oh oh we might need to fix that. Yeah, I got this. Okay, wait till my call's not gonna be super long, so I'll can I get on my screen? Yeah, that's fine. Um, I'm gonna watch a movie instead of YouTube. Is that fine? Yes. Just for 20 minutes, yeah. Okay. No, just for 20 minutes. We can do 30 minutes. Okay. All right. Sorry.
No worries. Okay, so as we scroll down the page, I kind of love these areas where it kind of goes into like the different offerings that you have, and I think that the imagery really does a great job of like illustrating each of these areas. Um, the only note that I had was maybe to condense in some way or maybe provide like a little bit more context.
Okay.
Um,
Like in the little, like the tiny text.
mhm.
Okay. Add more context around what it
Around
means.
Yeah, like around like what it means or who it's perfect for. Um, really speaking to that specific person, like maybe calling out to like where they might be at in their journey, just because like this might be different than the self-paced courses and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I think overall it looks really good.
Okay.
And then the newsletter, this is just a super, super tiny web designer brain thing. But just the alignment here, it's left aligned here. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So it's left aligned here, and then this piece, for whatever reason, is It's center aligned. It might just be like an embed thing. Sometimes those embeds can get like a little bit quirky. But if you're able to just left align everything, I think that would make it like a little bit cleaner.
Okay.
Um, and then I think for the footer, what you have is great. In general, I would recommend adding just the links to like the main pages, like what you have at the top, essentially just like repeating this. Um, just so that if somebody makes it to the bottom of the page, they don't have to scroll up to the back of the top of the page. So they can just click around from down here.
Okay.
Um, and then also one other tiny little thing, updating the copyright here.
Okay.
Let me see here. Okay, so this is another little Google Chrome extension that I have as well.
Mhm.
Open this a little bit further so you can see. It's called the Detailed SEO extension. It's free. You can use it on any website. So I really love it for that purpose, just because that means you can look at competitor sites, you can look at big box stores, you can look at other entrepreneurs, you can look at anyone. But basically, this is what is showing up on Google search results. And if you use these little question mark boxes, it will give you the best practice when it comes to Google. You can see that this one is a little bit long, so just shorten that up just a little bit. But you've done a really, really amazing job of integrating the keywords into these components. So really nice job there.
Okay.
And then the other part that I wanted to mention here, so if you scroll down in this little widget, is the header structure of the page. So we have H1s, which is the most important text on the page, H2, H3, etc. So it kind of, this is essentially sends the signals to Google to say like, this is what you should look at first, second, third, etc., in terms of context of the page. And we want to aim for one H1 header on every page. No more, no less. So that would be something to go through all of your pages and take a look at, so that you want to make sure that that H1 header has a lot of, or I wouldn't say has a lot of, but it has an ample amount of keywords in it so that Google can understand what the page is going to be about.
So what does that mean? Like H1, what's my H1? How do I know what the H1 is?
So if you scroll back up here and you go over to the headings tab here,
Mhm.
it will show you what is set up as what on the page right now.
Oh, like when I go to like the formatting or whatever.
hmm
Oh, okay.
hmm
Oh, but then they're gonna look different, right?
Yeah, this is like a thing that is is kind of like setting up your styles is like H1, H2, H3, etc. It's basically created in order to set up the hierarchy on the page.
Okay.
So, H1s will look the same, H2s will look the same, H3s will look the same. There are ways to make them look different, but most likely in Wix, you would have to do that via code. So if you really wanted to dig into it and, make things look different on a header level, it's possible. Um, but there would have to be some code involved.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like so each of the titles, it's probably counting a bunch of H2s because all of like the Self-Mastery Lab, those are all H2. But I need to change that so that there's an H1, there's an H2. So then
hmm
do I format all the H1, 2, 3, and 4s to look the same?
So you can if you wanted to. I personally would do um like once you change out this text here to be a bit more keyword heavy, I would add that as your H1 just because most likely that's going to say something to the effect of like self-leadership coaching for women in corporate or however you want to phrase it because that's ultimately going to be like the biggest, boldest text on the page that you want Google to look at, right? And then all of these other headers here can be H2s. If you have other sections on your other pages that are kind of like lower on the, I want to say like lower on the food chain, but that's not. you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
The if it's like one below these titles, then they can be H3s, etc.
Okay. But I
Mhm.
guess when you said you only want one H1 and one H2 and one H3.
Just H1s have that rule.
Oh, okay, 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 okay. I think that's why I was getting confused because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they're all gonna look so different. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. So you can have as many H2s as you want, as many H3s. That rule just applies to H1s.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Um, but
Okay.
yeah, you can use this nifty little um,
Just a
Google
second.
Chrome extension to check any pages you need to.
Okay, sorry.
It's
Sorry.
okay.
Hold on. Which one are you talking about? The news. Like the show? No, the movie. I don't know which one that is too. The across the Spider-Verse? Um, Netflix. Okay.
All right. So let's go to the speaking page.
Okay. This one I have not touched since I like redid all of it. I feel really good about my coaching page, but this one I'm like, ugh.
All right. So I have a note here. I think that the benefits should be higher on the page. So like I'm just thinking about like when I had a podcast and I would, look at people's websites to like bring them on for speaking engagements and also to speak in like different communities and stuff. Like
Mhm,
the points that I cared about the most are okay, what is the value that you can bring to the audience
mhm,
and like really making that like front and center. So that's even in like I think on a piece of this page, I remember you had like a bulleted list. Yes, these,
mhm,
like bringing these way further up on the page, because this is ultimately what people are going to need in order to like make that decision.
okay,
But really making that quite present. And then let me see here. I had a note here to integrate like more imagery or more icons. So maybe for this section here, like adding um, either an image or you can grab something from Unsplash or some kind of iconography that might speak to this and break this text up just a bit. So maybe there's like one per section. Maybe
okay,
thinking about how to like lay this out a bit. Maybe it's three columns across, or figuring out like how to display it in a way that feels like I think just it just needs like a little bit more breakup.
okay.
It's just a lot of
What if I
text.
kind of did like what I did on my homepage where it's like image info and then swapped image info?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Let me see here. I would also remove the movement on these. I know that that's a small thing. I generally try to reserve movement for if I'm trying to, number one, like you had it on the homepage where it kind of like creates that vibe, that very like subtle background movement, or if I'm trying to create movement within something linkable, so like indicating that something is going to happen if you take action there.
mm,
Um, so unless if you plan to link these out to something, that might be good.
mm-hmm,
But I think for right now, I would remove it.
okay,
That's all the notes that I had on this page.
okay.
I think it's fairly clear. I would also, sorry, I'm just noticing this one thing here. Contact a book. Okay, so you have that up there pretty close to the top. Okay, cool. So let's see self-leadership coaching as well. So I have the same piece of feedback on this page, like getting a button onto this page before you start scrolling. Um, And just making sure like when you're building out these pages, like I would say every like section or section and a half, like adding that button there just because like you never know like how far somebody's going to get down the page. Um, Usually people don't make it from top to bottom on websites. It's just like kind of the sad reality of, like looking at people's websites, unfortunately. So I like to like kind of sprinkle the call to action buttons like throughout. So I might put one here and then maybe like one here and then, kind of just throughout the sections.
Mhm.
Um, And then I had another note here around a very small design thing, but looking at the top and bottom padding throughout these sections and just making it a bit more even. So like here versus the bottom here, and then here versus here.
Okay.
That's just like a tiny thing. Um, let's see here. So the how we will do it together. I kind of think that these, I really like the layout here, but maybe swapping out these
Yeah,
images to have like different.
different. I had changed them up but I don't know. It looked kind of messy. Like I couldn't find, I wanted some like nature
Hmm.
imagery that, but I felt like it was looking kind of messy. And then I had like icons, but they look kind of cheesy. And so then
Mm.
I was just like, screw it. I'll just make them all look alike. What what would be your suggestion like to make them, I don't know, make them look cohesive, but not com like too contrasting. Like I had a leaf on there and water, and then I
Hmm.
think like a sunset kind of thing that were close up like this. But one was too green, the other one was really dark, the other one was really bright.
Yeah. I believe it's in Canva. I haven't used this feature in a while, but they do have, there might be one on Unsplash as well. I don't know. My memory is not serving me right now, but there are tools out there where you can plug in your brand colors and it will give you like photos that
Okay.
are aligned with that. Like it'll be like, you'll plug in the hex code and it'll give you like a bunch of options. So that is definitely something that I would look at just because it will kind of color wise pull everything together.
Okay. Okay. You think there's something like that in Canva?
I think so. If memory is serving, I haven't used that feature in a very long time.
Okay.
But it might be worth looking at. Even if you did like a quick Google search, I'm sure you could.
Hmm.
It's got to be one of the. I just haven't used that feature in a long time.
Okay.
And I would say with that too, like just making these images, um, once you get a collection of images that you think will work well together, just making them a little bit larger, I think
Oh,
will
okay.
be helpful too. Because it will give, like right now, everything has like kind of the same weight. Because we have like the image, which feels, like it feels like a heavier presence, and then it's kind of balanced with the text below. But if you
Okay.
make the image larger, it will kind of like draw the eye down a little bit more.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I had one last.
So like on all of these essentially, because like if you go up the little leaf icons
Mhm.
there, should I change all those also?
Yeah, if you have the bandwidth to do so, you could certainly play around with it. One thing I will suggest with icons, if you're looking for different icons, make sure that they are the same style. So you'll notice that some icons are solid, some are
Mhm.
there a bit illustrated, like these ones are. There are some styles that are like an outlined type style. Just
Yeah.
making sure that like if you are getting multiple that they're all the same style and the same color family will make it look that much more cohesive.
Yeah. That's what I was having a hard time with is finding like one would be really solid and the other one was very outlined and one was really thin, the other one was thick. So it just like
Mm.
I need to wait until after my call this time. Okay, Papa. But they um yeah, so it just was like easier to make them look the same. But
I
I
get
can
that.
maybe
Yeah,
spend some time on that.
for sure.
Okay. And make these ones bigger too.
Yeah, I think in general, like making the images like a little bit bigger, I think
Okay.
would be helpful.
Okay.
Just because like this is like there's so much text on the page, like it kind of needs that to kind of like balance it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had one last note here as far as let's see, I was looking at the did I pass it already? I was looking at the testimonials.
Oh yeah, it's right
Oh,
there.
here. I don't know if you have the permission to, but if you do, um, adding the photos of the people that have given these testimonials can be helpful in not only humanizing your brand, but also bringing like that human element.
Mhm.
Just because people like to see, you know, who you've been working with.
Okay. Yeah, I think one of them was fine with using the image and the other one wasn't. So
Mm,
I went with just wasn't.
mm,
Um, okay. Well, as I get more, I'll just add them in and use people who are down with me using their image.
totally. Um, any other questions as far as like your website? I know I kind of like rapid fired at you
Oh, I
a
got
lot
it.
of stuff.
Um, do I need an about page, do you think?
Yeah, it can be helpful. I know you get kind of get into some of that with the speaking page, so you might be able to just repurpose some of this into like a separate about page.
Okay.
Um, but in general, yeah, it can be helpful to have an about page just that has like basically like your bio, your values, some testimonials, and then a call to action.
Okay. Bio. What were you said bio,
Bio, your values,
bio.
um, your testimonials, as well as call to action.
Okay.
Some people like to have a little fun with their about page too. Like it really just depends with how much you want to go into it. Some people add like, what they like to do on the weekends, maybe some like personal photos and stuff like that. I've also seen folks essentially be like, this is like one of my favorite projects that I've worked on, or um, this is more for like e-commerce businesses, but featured, um, like featured products and that kind of thing, like store pics and that kind of thing.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
Um, any
okay.
other questions or anything?
No, I think that's it. Well, when you first got on my site, did everything load fast enough? Because remember I was asking you about like the images and sizing. I went and resized them.
Mhm.
And so I think they're working fine now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any problem with it.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's it. That's real. This is all really helpful. I took notes on all of it.
Oh,
So,
good. All right, cool. Well, if anything pops up as you're like editing anything, I mean, pretty easy to get a hold of. You can just reach out to me, let me know. But yeah, I will upload this recording so that way you can refer back to it. And
yeah,
yeah, if anything pops up, just let me know and I'd be happy to help.
awesome. Cool. Thank you so much. I
Of,
appreciate you today.
of course. I will talk to you later.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.